Welcome to another Ember Weekend. We like to talk about newsy type things in and around the Ember ecosystem. It's a thing that we like to do, and we are broadcasting from HashRocket HQ here in Florida. I am your host, Jonathan Jackson,
and I'm Chase McCarthy.
Also a host. I feel like I should have said co-host. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
All right. So this is episode 71, and let's get started. So the first thing we want to talk about is a really cool series of YouTube, like clips, I guess, videos. I don't know. It's on YouTube. I don't know if they're a series of YouTube clips by Gavin Joyce about how to build a drum machine. I only watched the second part of this, which had to do with serialization and deserialization, and I learned a lot. I haven't done the reopen class within the model file before. I thought that was a really clever place to put that. So there's a lot of really cool things here. It was a very good test-driven screencast, and I think it seemed really awesome.
Yeah, this is a project that Gavin had put together, I guess, a couple years ago. I don't know if it's a couple years ago, but maybe a year ago in Ember 1.5. And he was just kind of updating this for the latest Ember and trying to test drive part of it, I guess. But it was pretty nice. It uses a tool I've never used before called Howler. We know people that have been doing some music stuff like sequence generators and things like that in Ember. And this one's really cool. And he basically showed how to update this thing, reusing basically all the same behavior, and then test drive part of that. And I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really great. I think that there's still a few parts left to go, right?
I mean, I guess he got up to unit testing the model that does the deserialization and serialization in the second episode.
Right.
It also used a really cool plugin called LZ String Compression, which is designed to compress JSON that you're going to throw into local storage since you have a limit. And he uses that to put in the URL. And that kind of reminded me of something that I think Makti had said in one of the route guides that he had done about how really the route is kind of you get all the state that you need in order to represent the model. And this is the extreme end of the spectrum where the entire model is serialized into the route.
There's a few more of these screencasts to go. So I would tune in and try to follow along. It's a really great learning experience. I really enjoy like I said, the test-driven component to it. I think that was really handled well. And I think you brought up a really decent point, which was basically it's different kind of testing when you kind of know what the application looks like. So since he's repurposing a 1.5 app and kind of pulling it over to 2.6?
2.7 or something, I think.
2.7 app. He testing. You definitely have to approach testing slightly differently because you'll have a lot more knowledge than you would have had on the first initial implementation. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to see the test driving with a little bit of extra knowledge about kind of how you're doing it. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because it is easier to test at that point, I think that's one of the reasons why spikes are so valuable. So you can spike out some stuff so you have a little bit better understanding before you begin the testing process. That ends up being really, really useful. But as long as you just have to remember to not really stay with the spike for your entire life.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyways, check it out. It's up on YouTube. We'll post a link to it, and it's awesome.
So late last week, Adolfo Builas posted a blog post on the Envoy engineering team's blog, and it was about how they automated their Ember deployments using Ember CLI deploy and some GitHub hooks. And it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I really like this. So they obviously kind of dovetail in, like many deployment blog posts that I've read, on the Luke Melia talk from RubyConf 2014 about lightning fast deployments. But then they obviously fast forward about 2 years, because I think that was in 2014. Fast forward about 2 years, and now Ember CLI deploy kind of makes a lot of that stuff really easy. So they walk through, or Adolfo walks through how they use Ember CLI deploy in the plugin system there to make that really easy and integrate really well. And then they realized that even though that's all nice and good, they were still having to manually, whenever a PR was accepted, they would have to deploy it to staging, and they would have to do all this stuff manually. And essentially, the rest of the blog post is outlining how they automated this process. So with a combination of Git hooks and some Slack integration and sorry, it's not Git hooks. It's although they do use a Git hook, it's a GitHub deployment event that they can tap into, which is pretty sweet. So I definitely recommend reading this blog post if you're kind of investigating how to kind of automate some of the more annoying tasks of your day-to-day development efforts. What they call, or what they their mantra throughout this blog post was basically automate the mundane. So each time they would be like, "Oh yeah, we really simplified this," and then they would end up with a couple of things that could probably be automated, and then they would remove those, and then they end up with like a little bit less to automate, and so on and so on and so on, until they have this really nice Slack integration where a PR gets merged and everything gets deployed in the correct way, and you only have so they're using a Travis hook for after success to actually do all the deployments, which ensures that everything's green and you can kind of push with confidence. So I really like it. I think kind of frees up the developer to not worry maybe so much about the minutia and rather really focus on the features that they're developing. So it's really cool, and like I said, it's a very there's a lot of it's rich in code snippets. So I would go there if you're investigating ways to automate some of your deployments process. It's a really great place to start.
Yeah, definitely. I really think removing these little, mundane like checkout, deploy locally kind of things to review the code, and like just automating the deployment and having a tag to just look at and say, yeah, it looks good, and and then they put that command in the Slack message to deploy it. So you don't really have to think about much. You just can, especially if you're in the middle of working too, you can just see what somebody else is working on, and if you're the one responsible for deploying, check it out. That the test pass or wouldn't be there, and then you easily deploy it. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff. So, anyways, yeah, check out the check out the blog post. It's like I said, it's pretty detailed. So it might take, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of reading, maybe a little bit longer, and it might help kind of think about ways other people are doing teams. I find anytime as a consultant we set up deployment processes, usually we use we try to use patterns and stuff, but it's always nice to see different takes on certain things. And the Ember community has really unified around Ember CLI deploy, which makes everything so flexible and easy, and you can make customizations so simply. So it's really exciting to see blog posts like this come out where you see innovative ways where all these nice convenient tools come together in one actual cohesive process. So it's pretty cool. So the last thing we're going to talk about is something that actually came up at GemConf, and there was I guess there was kind of it was actually about reactive programming, I want to say, but Taras in that talk, he actually ended up kind of showing us this really kind of crazy looking D3 template rendering kind of helper thing called Ember Sparkles, and Chase has been diving into it really a lot more than me, but it's super cool. It seems like the flexibility of the templating system has enabled some really, really great, simple ways to interact with D3 to create really nice visualizations. Oh man, that's a hard word to say. Wow. I am a podcaster. Anyways, yeah. So it's really cool. I mean, we've been investigating it this morning, trying to get some demos working and stuff like that. And it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to actually try this out in a project, because it looks so nice. And I guess this was developed for Locus Energy's dashboard for their solar panel services. But the behavior, like the animations, the automatic animations you get out of this are pretty sweet. I mean, if you mess with D3, it's easier than coding SVG yourself. And so obviously it adds something to it, but it's always felt very too verbose, because D3 is kind of gives you a bunch of tools, but it doesn't really give you any pre-packaged, chart where you can say, here's my data, I want these columns represented, in this, this axis or something. It's much more like you're controlling every little bit, and it ends up the graphs just become super verbose. So this does a really good job of kind of building on top of another tool called Ember D3 Helpers, which already is abstracting some of the stuff and the did insert element kind of stuff, so that you don't have to manually add those D3 hooks into the component when it gets added to the page and all that. And this adds just really good data binding, basically. I know that's kind of a bad word with reactive development, but basically, if you change your data, the component gets re-rendered, but with automatic hooks into the animation and everything. And that's awesome. That means like you can change what the y-axis is, value is running off of, or you can change like the scale, or you can just change the values in the data. And so their examples are just like randomizing the data, and even doing that when they animate in between the two, they just look just amazing. So you can
Yeah, they
imagine,
look really great.
yeah, you can imagine this would be really great for something like when you're zooming out of data and you want it to kind of like compress and show like more of the future dates, or like, you're scrolling through like left or right and you want to like change what time range you're looking at. This would look really, really cool.
Yeah, and the demos are really neat. I like how you can kind of view the code and the code that the JavaScript code that generates the data, and then also you get the template where it actually like invokes everything. So you can kind of piece everything together yourself, which is nice. I mean, if I wanted to, pull in a graphing library, I would end up, you know, trying to find demos elsewhere and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all the effort went there. But yeah, it gets pretty wild. Like some of the examples of the more complicated graphs that Taras showed at GemConf were really wild looking, because you end up, really leveraging a lot of the sub expressions that you can do in handlebars templates to kind of, make this stuff, uh, I guess, more declarative inside the template. But it gets kind of gnarly. It really walks that line between. We had a really good conversation at GemConf about, how far can you push all this logic into the templates. I think Todd Jordan even mentioned that one of the graphs was like, I don't know, maybe 40 lines or something like that in a template, and there was no HTML. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's super powerful, but it definitely is. It's definitely pushing a lot of boundaries. So I think it's a very exciting place to kind of start investigating to see, what you can do. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any of the examples that are on this page, the pie, the line, bars, and all that kind of stuff, none of them have any HTML in their HBS file. And makes sense. They're mostly generating SVG. They probably have just like a wrapping div or something around them. But there it is interesting. Like you can see that there is a place for the backing component. It's not like everything is pushed in there, but it's more about like just getting the data and then binding it to like a couple columns maybe, and then dealing with actions and things like that. So the template is where all of the kind of like setting up of like labels and things like that goes. And you could just as easily move this into the component, but because of the way the library is, you'd still be mapping it in the template. But it doesn't look bad. I really think that it's much more readable than D3 and
Yeah,
JavaScript is.
absolutely.
So and then really like because people were saying, I don't want this, I don't want to have to keep writing this as very verbose or something. I want something more abstract. That's what you're going to do with it. You would create some like app specific graph that you're rendering, like a list of
Exactly.
people, and or I guess people stats or something, and you would just give it the array of people or the array of some data, and say render these things, and it would know how to do that. And that's your component. You wouldn't deal with this in all of your components. You would deal with it in like the ones that render graphs.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I like, just to be clear, I mean, kind of coming back around, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's really cool. I think that it definitely raises questions about what is the responsibility of the template. And I think that was also the conversation we had at GemConf, and it's kind of an open question. I don't think there are necessarily answers. This is a great abstraction. I think it's really well written, and it has a lot of really cool examples. I just think that it opens up a lot of questions about, where things belong, and how much we can really leverage handlebars, because right now the answer is like a lot, like as much as you want, really.
Yeah.
You can almost write your own language, and with I think Charles Lowell just released Emberlet. You could kind of fake the funk, so to speak, by binding stuff, like instances and stuff, and you can kind of write your own little mini programming language inside of handlebars. I don't know, it's there's a lot to it. So I don't know. I think this pushes a lot of boundaries, and it's really very exciting technology.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, if you want to track along and be part of the conversation, and maybe you should take a look at Ember Sparkles. And I know they're still looking for feedback and maybe some extra eyes on it to help flesh out some of the different use cases. So I think that would be very much appreciated. And if you ever want to talk about some of the different things, the questions around the templating stuff, reach out to us. That's a conversation I like to have, so it's cool. So the last thing we want to mention is that the call for proposal for So Ember is open now. So if you have any desire to speak at a conference, now is a really good time to start putting an abstract together. I know with all these conferences, the earlier you submit an abstract, the more help you'll get, and the more likely you are to be chosen. So if you have any desire to speak, this is going to be a really great conference. It's out in San Diego. It's on January 27th of next year. So actually not that far away, even though I said next year. Yeah, and it's gonna be great. So I know there's a lot of people up in the Northeast who are gonna be pretty excited to go to this conference because it involves going to a place that's a little warmer. So look forward to that. And the one thing I need to mention is that it closes November 11th. So so get on it. All right, thanks for listening to another Ember Weekend. It was great. I am really excited to hear all of the comments about the templating conversation we had. Of course, it's going to be an interesting set of conversations, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And if just as a side note, I tried to get that working in Ember Twiddle and couldn't. If anybody else has gotten it to work, or if they know the reason why, I don't know how to debug when an add-on doesn't work in Ember Twiddle because the errors don't come through. But I definitely want to mess around with that in Ember Twiddle.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So if you'd like to follow along with us here at Ember Weekend, you can tune in on Twitter. We're Ember Weekend, all one word, on there. And then if that's not your speed and you like RSS, you can always follow us by adding to your favorite feed reader, emberweekend.com/feed.xml. And I'm Jonathan Jackson, Rondell_SC on Twitter.
And I'm Chase McCarthy, and that's Chase_McCarthy on MySpace.com.
Very nice. I love that. Is that actually your MySpace?
Yeah, that's actually it.
Oh man, do you have access to it now? Like, I don't have my password for my MySpace.
No, yeah, it's still there. It's like the same picture from like 10 years ago or something.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Anyways, we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.
See you next week.